Okay, let's dive in. We've got this collection of sources all looking at something really practical.
Yeah, how to start speaking, real everyday English, especially for beginners.
Right, if you're just starting out.
Exactly. And the main idea running through all of them is sort of skipping the textbook stuff sometime.
The really formal language.
Yeah, and getting straight to the English people actually use day to day.
So that's what we're doing today. This deep dive is all about pulling out the best bits, the really useful phrases and techniques from these sources.
Uh-huh. To help you, listening, feel ready to actually start having real conversations, like right away.
And the sources kick off with this key idea, this distinction they make.
Yeah, they call it real English versus textbook English.
Okay, so based on these sources, what is real English? What does that look like?
Well, it's basically the English you'd hear, say, in a coffee shop or chatting with a neighbor.
Just normal life.
Normal life, exactly. It's described as natural, often simpler than you might think, actually. And it just sounds different from those perfectly crafted sentences in grammar books.
Gotcha. And the sources have examples, right?
Yeah.
To show the difference.
Oh, yeah, some really clear ones. The classic is greetings. A textbook might teach, hello, how do you do?
Which sounds very formal.
Super formal. The sources point out that in real life, it's much more likely to be, hey, how's it going? Or maybe, hi, what's up?
Okay, yeah, what's up? You hear that everywhere. Way different from how do you do?
Totally. And another good one is when you don't understand something.
Instead of,
Instead of the full formal, I do not understand, which can feel a bit stiff, the real world phrase is almost always just, I don't get it.
I don't get it. Simple. And yeah, feels much more natural.
It is, and the sources explain why real English uses tons of contractions like don't, it uses shortcuts.
And it has a certain rhythm.
Definitely. A natural flow that comes from, well, speaking it, not reading it off a page.
And for you listening, especially if you're a beginner, why does this matter so much? Why learn this kind of English?
Well, the sources say it helps in two big ways, straight off the bat.
Okay.
First, you'll actually understand native speakers better. Those contractions, that faster rhythm, it won't throw you off as much.
Right, because you'll be used to hearing it.
Exactly. And second, when you use these real phrases yourself, you sound more natural.
Which probably makes you feel a bit more confident.
Huge confidence booster. And that encourages you to speak more. Understanding and using this natural flow is really key, according to these materials.
Okay, that makes total sense. So understanding that difference is step one. Now, let's get into the specifics. Where do these sources say we use this real English?
Right, let's look at the daily situations they cover. First up, greetings and introductions. Pretty fundamental.
What are the essential greetings they pull out?
They keep it simple. Things like, hey, hi, what's up? How's it going?
Casual stuff.
Yeah, and maybe good to see you. Just your basic ways to acknowledge someone.
Okay, and after hi, how do they suggest introducing yourself?
Again, keep it simple. Hi, I'm your name. Followed by, nice to meet you.
Standard.
Very standard. And you can add context if you want, like, I'm from your country. And maybe I'm learning English, which is helpful context for the other person.
Yeah, sets expectations maybe. Those are super practical. You could use those almost anywhere.
That's the idea. They're meant to be the basic tools to just start a conversation, make that first connection.
Okay, so from first meetings to transactions, the sources talk a lot about ordering food or drinks, right? Like at a cafe.
They do. That's such a common scenario. They list the phrases you'll actually need. For ordering, it's stuff like, hi, can I get a coffee, please?
Or
maybe I'll have a sandwich. Using I'll have is very common.
and then there's that question you always get, for here or to go?
Right. And the sources say the simple, real reply is usually just, to go, please. Or, for here, thanks.
If that's all you want.
Just, that's all, thanks. And then later, can I get the bill check, please? Depending on where you are.
I like that the sources actually map out a little interaction, like a mini script.
Yeah, it helps you see the flow. So imagine the cashier starts, maybe. Hi there. What can I get you today?
And you wouldn't freeze up. You'd just use one of those phrases like, can I get a latte, please?
Perfect. Then they'll probably ask, sure. Anything else?
And if you're good, you just say, nope, that's all, thanks.
Exactly. Then they give you the total. Great. That'll be $5.50.
Hand over the cash. Here you go.
And they'll likely finish with a friendly, thanks. Have a great day.
See? When you break it down like that, with those phrases, it feels really manageable. Not scary.
That's the goal. It takes the guesswork out. Okay, another everyday situation. Shopping. Asking about things. Prices.
What are the key phrases the sources highlight for shopping?
Again, pretty direct stuff. Excuse me, how much is this? That's essential. If it's clothes, maybe, do you have this in a medium or whatever size? Can I try it on?
Mhm.
And of course, where's the fitting room?
And if you decide you want it,
Simple, I'll take it. But if not, if you're just browsing,
which happens a lot.
yeah, a polite no thanks, I'm just looking is perfect. Everyone understands that.
Those really do cover most basic shopping chats. And the sources give quick practice examples too, just reinforcing them.
Yep, like just practicing, asking, how much is this? Or do you have this in red? Little drills.
The point being, it's not about complex grammar.
Not at all. It's about communicating what you need or want. And the sources suggest the best practice is just, well, try using them next time you're actually shopping. Makes it real.
Okay, so beyond these specific tasks, how do the sources suggest building up more general speaking practice?
One really good way they mention is talking about your daily life, just describing your routine.
Why is that helpful?
Because it lets you practice common verbs and vocabulary that are directly relevant to you. It makes it personal.
So what kind of vocabulary are we talking about? The sources list some basics.
Yeah, the really fundamental daily actions. Wake up, get dressed, eat breakfast, go to work, or go to school.
Come home.
Come home, watch TV, go to bed. The absolute basics of a typical day.
And the example sentences are just straightforward descriptions using these.
Exactly, like, I wake up at 7, or maybe I eat breakfast at home, I take the bus to work, simple stuff. After work, I relax and watch TV.
And the sources actually suggest a kind of challenge.
Yeah, they do. They say, try narrating your whole day to yourself out loud if possible, just using these simple English sentences.
Even if it feels really basic.
Especially if it feels basic. The idea is that consistent practice, applying the language to your own life, builds fluency more effectively than, say, memorizing complex grammar rules you don't use yet.
Makes sense. Making it relevant. Okay,
Yeah.
what about just chatting? Not for a specific task, but just being friendly, small talk.
Ah, yes, small talk. The sources definitely cover this. They define it as those, short, friendly chats. They might seem unimportant, but they're really about building connections.
So what are the real conversation starters for small talk, according to these materials?
Simple, safe topics, usually, like commenting on the weather. Nice weather today, huh?
Classic.
Totally. Or maybe asking about something shared, like, did you watch the game last night? If that's relevant. Or general questions like, what do you do for work? Or do you live around here?
And there's a common way to end those chats,
Yeah, a really useful one they highlight is, have a good one.
which means
The sources clarify it just means have a good day, or evening, or weekend, whatever fits. It's super common, very natural shorthand.
definitely hear have a good one all the time. And the sources give a little example dialogue for small talk, too.
They do, just to show the rhythm. It's really short, like person A starts.
Okay, I'll be A. Hey, how's it going?
And B might say, not bad, just finished work, you.
Same here. Long day.
Tell me about it. Which is a great phrase, by the way. It means I totally understand or I agree.
Right, good one.
Yeah.
Then A might say, anyway, good to see you.
And B finishes, you too, take care.
See? Super short, uses those simple, real phrases, and it feels completely normal.
Exactly. And the sources really push repeating these kinds of mini dialogues, even acting them out.
Why? Just to memorize them.
Partly, but also to get the rhythm and make them feel automatic. So when you're actually in that situation, the words just come out.
Okay, speaking of what's going on inside, the sources mention something about how fluency actually starts in your head.
Yes, this is a really interesting point they make. Fluency isn't just about speaking, it's about thinking. The key technique is trying to think directly in English.
So not thinking in your native language and then translating.
Exactly. Try to skip that translation step. Connect the thought or the object or the feeling directly to the English word or phrase. It's faster, more efficient.
And they give examples of what that looks like in practice.
Yeah, really simple everyday thoughts like just notice things around you and think the English phrase, it's hot today, or internally, I'm tired, or seeing someone, that's my friend, or a need, I need to go to the store.
So the idea is even practicing with these tiny internal sentences helps.
It really does. It starts training your brain to just operate in English mode more naturally. The sources suggest it's like building a new pathway in your brain.
Making that switch happen faster when you need to speak.
Precisely. It's a fundamental habit they encourage building.
Okay, and then finally, bringing it all together, the sources emphasize practicing everything, right? Reviewing.
Absolutely. Practice is key. They suggest regularly reviewing the core phrases learned. They even list some key ones as a final review.
What kind of phrases are in that final review list?
Things we've talked about. Hi, how's it going? Hey, introducing yourself like, I'm from your country.
Yeah.
Ordering, like, can I get a coffee, please? Like, how much is this? We're talking about your routine, like, I go to work at 8, sir, or whatever fits you, and ending interactions like, have a nice day.
Yeah. And they include that positive affirmation at the end, too.
Yeah, I like that one. I speak English and I'm getting better.
That's a great mindset piece.
It is. It reinforces that you are making progress using these real-world tools. The sources kind of give you a pat on the back, saying something like, you did an amazing job today just by working through this stuff.
Which, if you've stuck with us through this deep dive, you definitely have. So let's sum it up. Pulling all this together from the sources, the main message seems pretty clear.
Yeah, the fastest way to start speaking and feel confident isn't aiming for perfect textbook grammar right away.
It's about mastering these practical, real-world phrases for everyday stuff.
Exactly. Greetings, ordering, shopping, talking about your day, basic small talk, and crucially, starting to think directly in English.
The sources really argue this makes English feel much more achievable for beginners, right? Because you tools you can use immediately.
Totally. It's about building confidence through actual communication, however simple.
Okay, so here's something to think about. Building on what we've explored from these sources today. If just changing how you approach learning English, shifting from translation to direct thought, focusing on real-world basics, practicing consistently can make such a big difference in your ability to actually speak.
Hmm.
What other skills or maybe areas of learning in your own life could benefit from that same approach? Focusing intensely on the practical real-world application and deliberately changing your internal mindset or process.
Yeah.
Something to mull over. And keep speaking out loud.